In this episode, we're going to pick open and then gut this PacLock 90A-Pro. Hey folks, welcome to Pugs Picks Locks. If you're new here, feel free to click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so that you'll always be notified when I release new content like this. And if you like this video, feel free to click the like button, give it a thumbs up, and then leave a question or comment down below if you have one. I'm more than happy to engage with you in the comment section, either to answer questions or to receive your feedback. I don't always get everything right, so if I got something wrong, or if there's something I could do differently, or something I could do better, please let me know. I'm more than happy to learn from you. I want to learn from you, expand my skill set, expand my knowledge base, so that I can provide you with better and better content. Okay, let's dive in. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at this PacLock 90A-Pro. My understanding is that the difference between the Pro and the regular 90A is the number of pins. This lock, the Pro series, has 7 pins as opposed to the standard 90A, which has 6. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to pick this open, and then we are going to gut it and hopefully avoid a gutting disaster on camera, but you'll get to see it live if it happens. All right. Okay. So let's take a look at this thing here. We take a look at the bitting on this key, you can see that there are 7 pins, right? And you can also see that that's kind of nasty with the peaks and the valleys there. We're gonna have fun getting on that 6 pin, and we're gonna have fun getting on that 2 pin. 2 shouldn't be too bad because it's in the front of the lock, but that 6 pin's going to kind of suck a little bit, I think. All right. Also, this lock is a dead core lock. That means even though the shackle is sprung, it has a sprung shackle, the core has no spring in it. The core is not sprung at all. So that's so when you're tensioning it, you're only tensioning against friction. You are not fighting a core spring. It is a captive key. You cannot pull the key out without closing up the shackle first. And you can see that when you close the shackle, the core doesn't spring back because it's a dead core. It's not sprung. So you have to turn the key back manually before you can go ahead and remove the key. All right, so dead core, sprung shackle. So this should be an interesting picking experience. Like with the Master Lock 410, having a dead core just means the tensioning feels a little bit different than it does against a sprung core like the American Locks 1100 series, where sometimes because of the strong spring in the core, you get the open and then you don't even realize it. You have to give an extra push in order to actually open the shackle. All right. If we look at this keyway, we can see that that is a fat, wide open keyway. It's a pretty generous keyway there. So I should be able to get a pick back there, even to the back of the lock, even with bottom of the keyway tension. And yeah, so and I prefer bottom of the keyway tension. We're going to be using this little Z wrench, this little Z wrench, which is my favorite tensioning tool because I can use it for bottom of the keyway tension. And like I mentioned in almost every video, this is the bottom of the keyway. It's just oriented towards the top of your screen because I'm left-handed and I tension with my right thumb. So yeah, you can see that even with the tension wrench in there, there's still a whole lot of keyway to work with. And but I like this Z wrench because in addition to being able to do that bottom of the keyway tension, I can also use top of the keyway tension. If I can get this. Okay. I cannot do top of the keyway tension with this, apparently. What's going on there? Okay. If you see this little bit of warding right here, let's turn for a better angle for you. This little bit of warding right there, that's preventing top of the keyway tension. The tension tool will not sit in the top of the keyway. Oh, okay. Maybe if we go that way. Okay. All right. No, that's pretty secure, actually. Okay. So we can do top of the keyway tension. It's just normally with top of the keyway tension, you know, your tension wrench is in line with the keyway, right? It's perfectly in line with the keyway, but because of that little bit of warding right there, yeah, with that little bit of warding there, it's turning the tension wrench at this 45-degree angle. And I still have room to get in there. So can I reach pin 1? Yeah, I can still reach pin 1. So you should be able to use top of the keyway tension if that's how you want to go. So bottom of the keyway tension. And we're using this deep hook from Southord. And if you remember the bitting on the key, you can understand why we are using a deep hook to try to get on pin 6 specifically. Okay, so my understanding is that this lock has, the 90A-Pro has spools and serrated security pins in the driver pin position. So this should be a fun little pick. Dead core, security pins. It'll be interesting. Okay, so let's see. I bumped some pins on my way to the back of the lock. I don't think I set anything. I don't think I moved anything, and I didn't feel any movement in the tension wrench. So I'm using I'm using like medium tension here. And then, so let's start with pin 7, which is springy. I go to pin 6. 6 is springy. Let's go to 5. 5 is springy. And now we're on 4. 4 is springy. And 3 is springy. And I just got a click off a 2. So that felt like I didn't feel any movement in the tension wrench. So that felt like a serration. Let's give that another little click with no movement. Okay. But that feels set now. But I didn't get any movement in the core at all with that. Let's give that another nudge just to be sure. No, that feels pretty set. Okay, and let's try 1. I slipped off of it. That wasn't a click. Okay, little click off of 1, and I felt something in the tension wrench. Okay, so let's go back to the back of the lock and go to 7, and I felt the tiniest little click out of 7. I don't know if that was audible in the mic. And 7 feels set now. So let's try 6. Got a little click off of 6. Another click off of 6, and another click off of 6, and we have an open. There we go. Okay, so that was interesting. I only felt serrated pins. I did not feel any. I did not feel any spools. You saw I got 0 counter rotation on that. Oh, celebratory swivel. Speaking of rotation, so yeah. All right. Should I lock this back up before I try to gut it? So with 1100s, I lock it back up before I gut it, so that all the pins, I don't run the risk of dumping key pins. So let's go ahead and lock this back up. And I can't lock it back up because it's a captive key, and I need the shackle closed to lock it. Okay. And I can't close the shackle and lock it back up because then I don't have access to that little grub screw, that little retaining screw. And that is a hex. So let's grab our hex wrench, our hex driver, and I am holding the retaining nut in place with my finger so everything just doesn't dump out the bottom of the lock when I get this. And I had to crank it kind of hard at the beginning because Loctite, I'm assuming. And it seems like it's not coming out. Did I unscrew it all the way? There it is. So Loctite, and then let's take the retaining nut out, and let's get the base plate off, and then let's slide the Bible out. The core out. Okay. So that's interesting. I was expecting it to, let's put this hole aside. We don't need it at the moment. I was expecting a cam on the tailpiece that would actuate the locking mechanism, like the 1100s, American Lock 1100s. I was expecting that, but instead of having a cam tailpiece that engages with the locking mechanism, it looks like the locking mechanism is the tailpiece. Looks like the tailpiece is the locking mechanism. So there should be ball bearings in here. Yep. So let's pop those out. There's one. And there's two, and they're greasy as heck. Ugh. Ugh. Gross. Ugh. Okay. All right. Sorry, I hate the feel of grease on my hands. And if I look down in there, you can see grease all up in here. Anyways, I'll quit whining. Okay. So those ball bearings are the locking mechanism. When the ball bearings are pushed outwards, they engage with these cutouts in the shackle and hold the shackle in place. And you can see that these rounded parts here. So, these cutouts in the tailpiece, let the ball bearing slide into those cutouts so that the shackle will be able to be released. And then when it's turned to the locked position, it pushes outwards on the ball bearings and prevents the ball bearings from coming in, letting the shackle out. So the tailpiece is the locking mechanism, as opposed to with the 1100s, where the locking mechanism is separate and there's a cam on the tailpiece that engages the locking mechanism. All right, very long-winded explanation. I hope, I apologize. Okay, so we have our Circlip removal tool. And what I like to do with Circlips is I like to move the clip so that the end of the clip right here is tucked into the notch in the plug. And that way I can then pry things out gently without having the circlip go flying across the room. So let's go ahead and try to slide that notch over. And it's not moving. Slide it the other way. Whoa! Oh, it's an E-clip. That's why. Okay. All right. So that's why I couldn't. But I managed to tease it out gently and not send it flying. Okay. So that E-clip, that little protrusion in the center of the clip, goes into that little notch in the back of the plug. All right. So let's put that there. And I'm going to go ahead and, with American locks, the 1100 series, I don't bother to shim them, but I'm going to shim this up just in case. So let's go ahead and grab a shim. Just one. Come on. There we go. So, all right. So I'm going to insert the shim underneath the Bible. And, yep, there we go. Is that all the way? I'm going to, yep. Okay. Yeah, I can see the shim on the other end. All right, fantastic. And then I'm going to grab my follower. So I'm orienting this so that the key pins are facing upwards. You can see, here, let's close this back up so I don't lose anything, just a little bit. Okay, so the keyway, the key pins are that way. So if I turn it this way, the key pins are facing upwards so I don't dump them. Now I'm going to slide the plug forward. And I'm going to see the key pin right there. I'm actually going to pull this shim back a little bit so that it can get on top of the follower. If you guys have better techniques for gutting locks, please let me know. I always feel a little bit clumsy when I'm doing this. Okay, so I'm going to push that plug out. I'm going to keep the key pins oriented upwards. And there we go. And take the shim out. Now I have that. Put the shim aside. So I don't, okay. All right. So let's dump these and see what we have. All right. So that's a standard key pin. Let's get that turned the correct direction. And this one is also a standard key pin in 2, and then 3. Standard key pin. Yeah, none of these are serrated so far. And 4. That's a standard. 5. And that's a standard. And what I'm okay. And 6. Where did that go? And there's 6 and 7. Okay, so those are all standard key pins. I'll lift up the pinning tray and give you a close-up in just a moment. So let's see. So this side was chamber 1. So I'm going to actually start at the back of the lock here. And let's remove our springs and driver pins. So here goes 7. Oh, what the hell is that? Okay, so that's a, let's pull, whoa, almost dumped the spring. So that's a standard pin, but it's ginormous. I was not expecting a pin that huge. Okay. And let's dump the spring, see if there's anything special about the spring. Push that down so I don't lose any pins while I'm monkeying around with this. Okay. And let's try 6. Okay, that's a serrated pin. Yeah, I'll just get everything out and then I'll lift up the pinning tray to show you. So that side was facing the spring. And let's dump the spring. Okay, that's a longer spring. That's a stronger spring. So it looks like, all right. Okay, let's get 5 out. And that's a spool. And let's dump spring 5. Okay, that's it looks to be the same as the spring that was in 7. And let's get 4, 2, 7, 6, 5. Let's get 4. Okay, and that's a spool. Let's dump spring 4. That is standard as well. Okay, let's turn around and go after pin 1 now. So this is 1. I have to say that, otherwise I end up sticking it in 3. So 1 is a serrated pin, and let's dump the spring. That looks like a pretty standard spring also. Okay, let's so 2 is serrated. And let's dump that spring out. So that spring is pretty standard. Okay. And let's go after 3. 3 is a spool, it looks like. And let's dump that spring out, and that's all of our springs and driver pins. And there we go. Okay, so let's stick our plug here. And then I'm gonna, let me lift up the tray so you can get a closer look at what we have going on in here. So those are the springs, and you can see that we have one spring that is longer than the others. It looks like it's stronger. We have a few that seem like they're a little bit shorter than the others. So it looks like they're varying the spring strength, which is a good security technique. Makes it harder for kinetic attacks like zipping or raking or rocking or scrubbing. So the varying strength springs. And then look at how tiny those driver pins are. I mean, they're like a third smaller than the driver pins that I see in American locks and master locks and others. And then, but look at number 7. I mean, that is just a giant driver pin next to all those little bitty ones. And I have a feeling that that's also an anti-raking, anti-scrubbing, anti-zipping, whatever measure. If you know exactly why it would have that giant driver pin, if I'm wrong about its intent, please let me know in the comments. And then all of the key pins are standard pins here. So those are all standard looking. No serrations or anything like that. Just wicked bitting. I mean, look at how tiny the key pin for 6 is. Have to push that all the way up into the Bible to get that sucker to set. All right. And there it is. A PacLock 90A-Pro, picked and gutted. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, remember to drop a like and leave a comment or a question below. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the notification bell for more content like this. Until the next video, happy picking y'all.